Good morning on this gloomy, chilly, rainy day. Only appropriate to be this way as we commemorate Yom Hazikaron, Memorial Day, for the 24,000 plus fallen Israeli soldiers and over 4,000 terror victims who perished, who were killed just for the sake of defending their brothers and sisters and living in the holy land of Israel that God gave us over 3,000 years ago. You know, in America, on Memorial Day, we make barbecues, we get discounts on items of refrigerators or washing machines or whatever else is on sale. But in Israel, Yom Hazikaron is very different. It's a day when almost every family and every person is somehow touched in a very deep way by the pain and the sacrifice we paid to live in the holy land of Israel. If last week we had Holocaust Memorial Day to remember those who were killed because they were Jewish, today we remember those who were killed because they defended and are here to make sure that that never happens again. I woke up this morning on the way to shul, and I'm in a group, my father being one of 12. As you know, all of them live in Israel. Unfortunately, 6 of them are not alive anymore, but those that are still alive live in Israel with children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. We have a WhatsApp group. And I woke up in the morning to a picture posted by some of the siblings that are still alive and live in Israel at the grave of my father's brother, Yeshua, who died in 1960. My father was 20 years old in the Holy Land of Israel, a soldier in the army. I think about my grandmother who was killed in 1948 in front of my father by Jordanian terrorists. And I think about the 28,000 others who gave their life for the land of Israel. You know, in Israel, this week, the Torah portion is Parshat Emor. In America, it's Parshat Kedoshim. You see, because Passover finished in Israel on a Friday, and in America, we add an extra day, so it went into Shabbat. And therefore, on Shabbat, we read a special portion for Passover, while in Israel, they went into Acharei Mot, and we stayed at Kedoshim. But if you take those 3 portions together, Acharei Mot, which means after the death, and Kedoshim, which means holy, and Emo, which means to speak, it could be telling us Acharei Mot Kedoshim, after the death of those that are holy, after the death of those who gave their life for the land of Israel, Emor, we should speak about them. So I wanted to mention today the first person who died for modern Israel and the last. The first one, believe it or not, was a man by the name of Rabbi Avram Shlomo Zalman Zoref, who immigrated from Lithuania with his wife and 3 children in the time between 1808 and 1810. And with many others, he immigrated to Jerusalem, where he was a silversmith. The name Zoref means silversmith. And he was a silversmith in the holy land, in the holy city of Jerusalem, and he gave his life both materially and spiritually to Israel. And he succeeded very much in helping to build the community of Jerusalem. But the Arabs who lived in Jerusalem couldn't tolerate having Jews living there. And one day on his way to shul to be exact, I will give you the exact date, in 1851, in 1851, Rabbi Zoref was walking to shul and he was shot in the head, stabbed and shot by an Arab, and he died. And right before he passed away, he said the Shema Yisrael, and he made his children promise him that they would never leave the land of Israel. And he's buried on Mount Olives, where his grave was desecrated. And just lately, his family rededicated his grave after the vandalization. Rabbi Zoref passed away in 1851, the first victim. And who's the last one? We all know we lost This past Friday, Yachselev, who was a young 23-year-old man who, with his family, emigrated from the former Soviet Union and was protecting the community of Ariel in Judea and Samaria. And a terrorist in a car marked with Israeli license plates came pulling up and walked out and shot him in the head, and then walked back in and came out again and stabbed him to make sure he was dead, all while the Yachselev protected and put his body over his fiancée to protect her from dying. She was saved and he gave his life. He was about to get married, one of 8, who loved the land of Israel, who loved the people of Israel, who loved Judaism. Today, on Yom Hazikaron, Acharei Mot Kedoshim Emor, we speak about those who sacrifice, who paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to live like free people in the land of Israel. But it's also today that we think about ourselves and how do we perpetuate their lives, and how do we perpetuate and stand up, even if we don't live in the Holy Land of Israel. Speak up and stand up for the people of Israel. May Hashem give that all the Kedoshim, all the holy people who gave their life for Israel, be perpetuated through our deeds of living like Jews, being proud Jews. May the souls of Rabbi Zoref and of Yachselev and all those in between, my uncle Yeshua, my grandmother Necha, and every other one of them, may the Neshama have an Aliyah. May they look after us, and may the Holy Land of Israel be protected from bad, from evil. Have a great day, and see you tomorrow.